The government, meantime, has further walked back its threat to jail Australians returning home from India and instead now asking people just to be patient. Live now to Jonathan Lee in Canberra. And Jonathan, Michael McCormack has called this a tough decision and said there is no textbook here for the government to follow.
Good morning to you, Laura. That's right. No textbook for the government to follow here, but certainly no apologies also. I suppose part of the difficulty here is there's also no certainty for some 9,000 Australians who are still stuck and stranded in India. Around 650 of those are also listed as vulnerable and in desperate need of returning back home. The thought, though, was that this ban would remain in place up until the 15th. Of course, the government will look at whether the ban needs to be extended. That will probably depend on the health advice we hear so frequently about now, but with cases continuing to skyrocket in India, it will be interesting to see whether the government will move to bring those Australians home. There is, though, clearly a chorus now of criticism of the government, not just from crossbenchers, but also backbenchers.
These people are Australians. We're talking about Australian people, Australian citizens. And I worry that this coronavirus has destroyed not just our freedoms, but sometimes our sense of humanity to each other. A year ago, or 15 months or so ago, we sent planes to Wuhan to get Australians out. And now, 15 months down the track, we are taking a leaf from Pontius Pilot and washing our hands of the circumstances of our fellow Australians. I don't think that is right.
Yeah, rightly or wrongly, Laura, many people were surprised by the heavy-handedness of this law which was invoked. The opposition, though, views it far more cynically.
Well, I think that's the question on everyone's lips, is why the government came out so hard, threatening jail time, and now is within a couple of days backing away from it. I mean, the truth of it is that I think it could be because they wanted to distract people from actually questioning why we don't have quarantine facilities that could deal with large numbers coming back from difficult countries, and why we were not ready for this.
And Jonathan, we are learning more about what will be in the budget and what won't be in the budget next week.
Yeah, the slow drip feeding of information continues as it always does. There was talk the government might look to fast-track those stage 3 of the tax cuts, which would benefit the top end of town. It now appears the government will leave them in 2024, preferring to favour support for low and middle income earners, with the tax offset continuing that for another year. That could benefit people up to $1,080. The thought there is that those on the lower end of the spectrum normally spend the money they give, thus stimulating the economy. There was also talk about the Job Maker scheme. This was a central part of the government's response to the last budget, but it has been $4 billion, a low uptake there. And of course, there is also going to be a central tenet of this year's budget, making sure there is more money pumped into the aged care sector. You know, overnight, Jim Chalmers, the Shadow Treasurer, has given a sturdy speech criticising the government's handling of the pandemic. One of the points he made was that last year the government spruiked up the effectiveness of the vaccine rollout and how that would benefit the economy. The slow vaccine rollout, though they counter now, clearly must come at a cost, and they want to know what that cost would be.
The budget needs to come clean on the cost of the botched vaccine rollout. Just as its last budget estimated that a faster rollout could boost activity by $34 billion, they need to come clean now on the cost and risk of delay.
Yeah, of course, we will hear more from the opposition as we move towards next week's budget. Laura.
Indeed, we will. Jonathan Lee, thank you. Now,